Hello, Facebook. I am here. I'm not facing camera today, just because I got my camera all set up, and I just thought I didn't really want to have to change it around again. And I'm also having a bad hair day, so hey, we all have them. But hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me. I am Izzy Shashinsky. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. And specifically I am here in Nottinghamshire, North Nottinghamshire, quite close to the Yorkshire boundary. I like to keep reminding myself, being a Yorkshire lass. So thank you for joining me today. Like I say, I'm just not going to face camera today as I usually do. I just wanted to share today how I made this card. I'm going to demonstrate this, and this card was made as part of a swap group. Now, it wasn't a big swap group like we do for live Stampin' Up events. This was a pre-on-stage swap group that I set up with my little team, and I asked them if there was anybody who wasn't attending on stage in Vienna who would like to just get kind of into the spirit a little bit and let's have a little swap group. Oh, hi Lisa and hi Helen. I can see a few people are joining me now. That's lovely. And I think that might be Jen as well. Hi Jen. So I asked my team who wanted to just do a little swap before myself and Lorna went off to Vienna, where you do lots of swapping. And I think I shared my swap that I made last week for on stage. Well, this was my swap that I made for our swap group. We had some rules, and the rules were that you had to make a full card, not just a card front, which often you make like an artist trading card or a card front. So we had to make a full card, and anything goes. You could put anything on it, so long as it was current product. So this is mine, and I'm going to demonstrate that. Now I'm going to just do a little lovely show and tell and bring in. So I had 7 members of the team who joined in. So this one was Maxine. Maxine lives in Scotland, and this is Maxine's beautiful anniversary card. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm just going to try and remember the products that she used actually. So we leave our cards blank inside, so actually we can reuse them, repurpose them, and actually use them to send to somebody. We also say in this swap group, we said that we were able or allowed and encouraged in fact to write our name or stamp our name on the back, just so that to determine who it was that made the card. All the swaps got posted off to Helen, who's watching, Helen Smith, and Helen Smith was the coordinator for the swap group. So once Helen had received all of the swaps, she then mailed a selection of 7 out to everybody who took part. So everybody received 7 cards, including the one that they had made. So that worked really well. Thank you, Helen. So this is Maxine's beautiful card. Next is Helen's card. So Helen made a lovely all occasion cards. This could be sent for any occasion. It could be for a birthday, it could be an anniversary, it could be anything, just a get well soon, thinking of you, thank you card. Lovely, really gorgeous card. I'm not even going to try and remember what stamp sets to use because I won't remember, and then I'll end up rummaging through. But I might just point out some techniques. So let's go back to Maxine's card. So here we have some die cutting, we have a punch, we have lots of layering, really gorgeous layering. I'm a sucker for a layered up card. And Helen's card, we've got some lovely colouring technique, and I believe that that's blends. You can, because you're watching Helen, you can chip in if that's not right, but I think Helen used blends, Stampin' Blends, the alcohol markers, to colour this image on the front, and popped it up to give that lovely layered effect as well. A couple of pearls finishes that off. Now next we have a festive card. This is Debbie Keating, and again another stamped and coloured in. Full of love stamp set. Thank you for that, Helen. I am standing so I can see. Blends and fussy cut, yes, definitely. skillful fussy cutting. Let's go back and just admire that. Yes, skillful fussy cutting. Fussy cutting isn't everybody's favourite thing, but those who love it, and those who hate it roll their eyes out loud. And so Debbie Keating's lovely card also has some colouring. I don't think Debbie's watching at the moment, but I've got a suspicion that that might be blends as well. And that's a nice stamped image, and that's layered on some gold foil. If I just tilt that, and you can also see that we've got some gold heat embossing, really gorgeous on that Night of Navy cardstock. Stands out, looks lovely. So a gorgeous, rich looking festive Christmas card. Now next we've got a fancy fold, and this is from Lorna. As if Lorna didn't have enough work making her fantastic swaps for onstage, she also produced this magnificent fancy fold, which is a stepped front card, and you can see from above just how three-dimensional that is when it's stood. Lots of die cutting. There is some DSP used on the background, designer series patterned paper, and then also some stamped and die cut images, and some heat embossing with the sentiment. If I just tilt that, the light will catch that heat embossed gold. I think we've got some die cut pine cones and die cut holly leaves and holly berries, and this wonderful oval which is from the new I've forgotten the name of that one as well, and the one that we can't say. Festive, no, I think this the floral florets. I can't remember. Oh, that's just so ridiculous. I think the stamp is from the second set. The sentiment is from the second set that goes with that, and that's only available until the end of December. But then the oval dies will be available in the new January to May mini catalogue. So a really fabulous, fun and fancy fold. Our next card was from the other Helen in our group, Helen Holden. Another beautiful card, and I love the use of vellum. I'm just going to try and hold this really close. So Helen has stamped and coloured Festive and Floret. Yeah, I think it is Festive. There's lots of F's. Thank you, Helen. So Helen Holden has stamped and then coloured using blends onto vellum, and then I think she's fussy cut, although she could have used the punch. There is a matching punch for this stamp set, so she could have used the matching punch. But just looking at how the light shines through that vellum once it's coloured with blends is fantastic. And she's put all of that onto an embossed white background. Really classy. I love that clean and simple card look. Added a sentiment to the bottom, finished with some gold embellishments. So these little flower trinket self-adhesive embellishments for the centre of those flowers is perfect, and the little gold butterflies as well. Absolutely gorgeous. We were so lucky. Yes, you're right, we had some beautiful cards. And the last one in the group was Linda. And Linda, I know Linda really well. I've known her for 4 years now, and Linda's crafted with me in class, and we work together, so we talk crafting an awful lot. And I can tell you that this is really off, what's the word? Really off, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the word. Totally different to Linda's styles. Off-piste, I suppose, is the word I was looking for. Totally different to Linda's normal style. So I was really thrilled and delighted when I saw that Linda had created something very different for her normal style. So a monochrome card, very stunning, really effective. So Linda's also used vellum, so her background embossed piece, and I'm just going to keep tilting it so that the light catches that. Out of comfort zone. Thank you very much, Helen. Helen's my assistant today, obviously. She's remembering all the words that I can't remember. Yes, so it is very striking. Vellum embosses really well with embossing folders, and this just particular application for it is just so striking. Lots of die cutting, simple stamping, but the die cutting just really brings it alive. Lots of layering, fabulous. That gingham ribbon, it's just gorgeous. And then those little accents as well in pearl and black and white. There's a couple there. So really gorgeous. So just a big thank you to my fabulous team who joined in with that lovely swap group just before we went to Vienna. I'm displaying them on my bookcase, on my display case in my craft room, and every time I come into my craft room I have a look, and it just brings me joy to see these gorgeous cards. So swapping is for life, not just for Christmas and not just for on stage. I'm just going to pop these to one side and I'm going to take a seat. So I'm not going to be reading comments just for a little bit while I sit down and just get myself prepared. So just a reminder, if you're shopping with me online and you're not local, use the host code. It's pinned on Facebook, on my Facebook page anyway, so that's enough of that. So I'm going to share with you how I made this card for my swap group. One of the other reasons I'm not facing camera today is that this is the only tidy space in my entire craft room. I have got so many projects on the go. I've got boxes everywhere. I've got just stuff everywhere. So it's just, if I had the camera facing me, it would also be facing my room, and it's a tip. So there, nobody needs to see that. So I'm going to start with my base card, which is soft succulent cardstock, and I need to find a space. I'm just going to open a drawer just for somewhere for me to throw things. Soft succulent cardstock, and I'm going to start with that for my card base. And this is a landscape card, and I've actually put the hinge to the side because I find that they stand much better than tent fold, which can sometimes tend to collapse after a little while. So I'm going to cut my cardstock down the centre. So that's 10.5 centimetres. I'm going to just put that one to one side. I'm going to score it to make that hinge at 14.85 or 14.9 or just shy of 15. And that gives you your card base. I'm just going to pop my trimmer to one side now because I don't actually think I need that again. I'm just going to use my bone folder to make that crease nice, and that sits your card base nice and flat. My next layer is a piece of just basic white, and I cut that to 14 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres. And I also needed another piece of basic white to die cut the butterfly and the stem of leaves, and a little tiny piece for the sentiment. And I'm just going to show you what I will be using throughout this project. So I'm going to use the Artistically Inked Stamp set and matching dies, which are called the artistic dies. So I'll just share with you what that contains. I'm only going to use this long leaf die for this project, but the die set includes this really lovely big die that cuts this fantastic floral piece. I've made several projects from this. It also includes some outline pieces. So there's one for this, and this stamp set is supposed to be reminiscent of alcohol, ink, images really. So one is sort of reminiscent of leaves, so you can make floral pieces. One is reminiscent, I suppose, of a rose. We've got a smaller single leaf, a smaller piece that could be a flower. We've got these three smaller pieces that could be floral, and then this larger one which could be floral. It could just be alcohol ink sort of image, and the die does match when you finally get there. And then we've got this other large image here that looks like that gorgeous sort of watercolory or alcohol ink blended image. I'm just going to say image. So that's the actual dies and stamp set. I'm going to just use this leaf, and from the stamp set, I'll just put those away. From the stamp set, I actually just used this one that's like a leaf. Let's just pop that on a block. And I used this one that's like a flower, and I'll just pop that on a block as well. And I used those to add colour to my butterfly. And I also used the sentiment hello. Hello. Pop that on a small block. So that's those, and throw them in the drawer. And the other products that I'm going to use is the embossing folder Timeworn Type, which gives a nice sort of grungy or Helen, you're going to help me with words. I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. Like a shabby chic sort of background, yeah. And then I am going to use, for the butterfly, this is a fabulous set of dies. It's huge. It has all of these butterflies, and I used this one. It also has this one big die that coordinates with the butterfly stamp set, which is somewhere on my shelf. Oh, these stamp sets never jump off when you want them. It's over here. It's actually classed as a background stamp, but it has one big stamp, and it stamps all these beautiful big butterflies, and this one die coordinates, so they all actually get cut out separately. I've made some home decor pieces that look like actual taxidermy butterflies. I watercoloured them in realistic colours. And also in the set is this tiny butterfly, and then these pieces, or two tiny butterflies, these pieces that are really useful for giving texture to background. So this one just cuts out a series of really small holes. This one cuts out like a basket weave, and this one cuts out like a brick kind of texture, and then leaves the rest of the piece intact. So I keep forgetting about them, and I must use them more often because they're ever so useful to use on a multitude of different types of project. So let's just get rid of those, and I'm going to bring in or will bring in my big die cutting machine shortly. I'm going to finish off with some sequins. Now these are the adhesive back seasonal sequins, but a sequin in my mind is not just for Christmas, and I think I've proved that with this card. Just added some gold sequins. Now I've nearly used all the gold ones, so for this card I'll use a different colour. We may have a little vote on the colour when we get there. And of course I'm using some ink, and the colour choices I made was Evening Evergreen, Soft Succulent, Sweet Sorbet, and Rich Razzleberry. So let's get cracking and let's do some stamping and make this card. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually bring in my big machine and get all of the die cutting and embossing done and dusted, then I can move the machine back out of the way. So I'm bringing my big machine in, and I'll stand for this and then I can actually have a look. Oh, Mum, I don't know what you're saying good for, but hey, whatever it is, if it's good for you, it's good for me. So I'll do the embossing bit first, and I'm going to use the Timeworn Type embossing folder. I'm going to put my piece of white cardstock in. Of course it's landscape, so I'm popping it in the folder landscape, and I've made a note to myself, oops, that for embossing you need to use platform 1. Ooh, let me just stop that light, and plate number 4. So platform number 1, which is the base platform that you always use with your big machine, and then plate number 4, and I've also written on it, for embossing only. Did you remove number 2 or number 5? So let's just wind that through. So that's my embossed piece, done and ready to be adhered to the card base. Now let's crack on and do all of the die cutting. So for the die cutting I need base plate, thin plate number 2, a bottom plate which is actually numbered number 3, and then a top plate which is also number 3. And I'm going to pop my extra piece of white on, and I'm going to place my large leaf and my butterfly on that piece. Trying to see what I'm doing because it's over the back. And I'm going to wind that, and I'm winding it towards me. Now, with these intricate dies, I always take a look when they've come out, and I always just check, have I got all my cuts all the way through? Because sometimes with the intricate cuts, if you actually place the die slap bang in the middle of the plate, which seems to be sort of human nature, we put everything in the middle, the pressure of the roller in the machine may not be enough to cut all the way through. So sometimes I pop it back the way through if I don't think it's cut properly. I think that butterfly had cut properly. And so I pop the top plate back on. It looks like it's completely cut properly there, so that's good. Sometimes I pop the top plate back on and I do a second run through, but that one looks okay. So there we go, we're finished with that. Excuse me, just got a bit of a tickle. So I'm going to use my foam mat and die brush just to release those pieces. So the die brush fits onto the end of your pick tool, and you can just die brush across, and that will help release that piece from the die and also help with releasing all of those little die cut pieces. And this is the bit that always is a bit fiddly. And sometimes I find if you just bend the piece, you can pull it out. Let's have a look. Just get these out. And sometimes we can use a pokey tool, sometimes the die brush is good enough. And I think I've got some that are a bit stuck in there. That's it. Just pop those out and then we're good to go. And who can guess what my other favourite craft room tool is for all these little bits? Let's have a shout out for, yay, the good old lint roller. Whoop whoop. And I'm just going to use the die brush again for those intricate leaves. It's a good old die, this. It's such a nice large size. And it's actually really releasing quite nicely all those little tiny bits. Let's just pop that out. Come on. There we go. And being careful because you can see the stem is quite thin. And if I yanked that out a bit too enthusiastically, I might have just torn the stem. So there we are, that's all the little bits, I think, pretty much. Let's just get rid of those, or as many as we can. That's great. 99p. Best tool in the craft room. And I'm just going to pop my dies carefully. I've got a magnetic dish just next to me, so I've just popped those on there so that they're safe. So I've got the components that I need now to start making this card. I'm going to first of all do the background piece, so you can see that the white on white does look nice. I like you know, white on white does look classy, but just to help it stand out even more, I've actually used a blending brush and some ink just across that back there. Just gives it a bit more definition. So I'm going to use some soft succulent ink. I might just bring a paper towel in. I don't want to use grid sheet on camera because the camera doesn't seem to like the pattern of grid sheet, and it causes it to focus and refocus constantly. So I'm going to use my ink blending brush, just pick up some ink. I'm just going to tap it off a little bit, and I'm just going to blend that kind of diagonally in a swoop. You can see how it just picks up the embossing. And the great thing about blending is that you can add more. Now it's kind of a diagonal but in a curved. You could do the whole of the background if you wanted to. Make it your sort of style. You could just go around the edges, but these blending brushes are fab for adding a nice soft amount of ink, a bit less harsh than a sponge. Now the other thing I added to the background, I'm not sure if the camera has picked that up, is some speckles, some splatters, and the way I did that was I used a Stampin' Right marker, and these have a brush end and a nib end, so Stampin' Right, so you'd write with the nib end and you would colour with the brush end, and these have the same ink as the ink pad, so it's a water-based dye ink, not an alcohol ink, and I simply used the brush end and the open lid and just flick the ink using the open end. Just give it a flick, and that gives you some speckles. If you've not done this before and you want to have a go, just have a go on some scratch paper, on your grid sheet. I'll just stand and just show you that up close. See if the camera can focus on that. Yeah, you can see those ink splatters. So yeah, if you've not tried that before and you're a bit nervous about doing it, then have a go and just use your scrap paper. It's reasonably easy to get the splatters where you want them, to direct them. You just point the lid on a slight angle and point the pen at where you want them to go. But it's a nice, if you like that kind of background, that kind of built layered up imagery, then it's a nice way of doing it. Now I'm going to work on the main event, the butterfly, and I'm going to share with you how I got those colours on. Lots and lots of ways that you could colour this butterfly, but I chose to use stamped images and just build up the colour. So the first colour I popped on was Sweet Sorbet, and I'm just going to use, I'm not going to use that yet, I'm going to carry on with my kitchen paper, I don't know what I'm doing. And I use this image, so this sort of circular or round or floral ink splat. I'm going to just grab a piece of print paper, bear with. Because if you've not seen it before, you're not going to get the full effect. If you've not seen how this stamps, you can see it has multi-tones. And printer paper's, you know, cheap absorbent paper, it's not the best image, but just to give you an idea of how these images actually stamp and what you get, I thought that might be useful. So I'm going to stamp my butterfly, and just like that. So it adds some red, so that lovely sweet sorbet colour. And then I'm going to come back with this smaller sort of leaf shaped image from the set, and I'm going to stamp Rich Razzleberry, which is a gorgeous purple, and I'm just going to add that to the centre of the butterfly. And I think I actually added a few extra bits just around. I'm leaving the tips of the wings because I'm going to add the gold to the tips of the wings. I could add a little bit more there in the middle and just fill that white bit in. I wanted some colour on this butterfly, but I didn't want it to be too regimented, and I wanted it to be really free flowing and just feel I don't know what the word is really. I can't think of words today. I'm just hopeless with words today. But anyway, I didn't want it to be a rigid colour. I didn't want to colour one wing, you know, the top wings in one solid colour. I wanted it to just feel a bit more free flowing, a bit arty. Now I'm going to bring in my silicone mat and I'm going to add gold to the tips of the leaves, and this is the fun bit. I absolutely adore using our gilding leaf. I keep it in this big plastic lidded box because it just flies away the minute you breathe. So this is our Gilded Leafing. It's in the annual catalogue and it will be on the page that is called Wow, I think, where all the other extra bits and pieces. I'm going to pull my sleeves up because this does go everywhere, but it's fun. It's fabulous. And I'm going to apply it. There's lots of different ways of applying it, but basically if you've got anything that's sticky, you can use it. I have got some live videos that I did either last year or the year before. Might have been last year. Oh, that glue's empty. I don't know why I'm using that. Is it empty? Are you empty? Oh no. So I'm just going to add a little puddle in that corner. And I think I did a series of videos about how you can apply this. But one of the easiest and fun ways is to use just some glue, multi-purpose liquid glue, a piece of sponge, and this is my glue sponge. I keep it separate in a little pot in my drawer, and I use this just for gluing. And I'm going to dab the glue where I want the gold, so which is around the tips of the wings. I'm just going to then carefully pop my butterfly over there while I put that away. And I'm just going to bring, I've got a damp sponge that I keep for sticky hands, and I'm just going to wipe that glue off my silicone mat. Just a bath sponge that I keep. It's damp, it's in a Ziploc bag, and I just keep that on my desk. And bring my butterfly back in. And now I can add the Gilded Leafing, and this is where the fun begins. So look how much you get in this pot. There's so much. The other things that I keep in this box are two sort of children's glue brushes. These can be purchased from any art shop or arts and crafts shop, anywhere that sells craft stuff for kids. This one's stiffer than this one. This one's a bit like a badger bristle, and this is like a really stiff bristle. I keep those in there. And this one's really useful for picking up the Gilded Leafing and just dropping it on. And just pick it up and drop it on. It really is like proper gold leaf. It's ever so lightweight. And you just drop it down on the glue, sticky glue. Pick it up with your fingers as well. It does just go everywhere that there is any sticky. It will stick. It's sticking to the mat because the mat's still damp from the water off the sponge. Oh, look at that. You can see there. Lovely. Just drop it on. It's as light as a feather. Whatever you do, don't sneeze or cough or laugh. Don't make me laugh. And just remove that bristle. And then when you can rub it with your fingers. If you don't mind getting a bit messy. Oh, I've got some sticky there, look, I've got some sticky. Just keep pressing it on where it feels sticky with the glue. And now it looks all sort of tatty and raggy and what have you. I'm just going to see if I can tip that back in there. Oh no, it's static, look. It's leaping out of the pot to stick to the mat because the mat's static. My fingers are static. It goes everywhere, but it's such fun. Please feel free to sing like Shirley Bassey, Goldfinger. And with the stiffer brush, I'm just going to brush off the excess. if you're a neat freak crafter, this may not appeal to you, but honestly the effect is really worth it. The effect is super. It's nicer than embossing powder. You could do the same thing with embossing powder on the tips of this butterfly. It's nicer, it just has a softer look to it. It's really lush. But of course, if you really can't bear the thought of getting a bit sticky or a bit messy, then you could get the same gold tipped effect on a butterfly using some embossing powder. And actually you could get the same effect with your embossing powder if you just instead of glue, then you would just rub the tips of the wings across your Versamark ink pad. That's all you'd have to do. So there's my butterfly, and I'm actually, for the purposes of this demonstration, going to remove all of that because it's so static to one side, and I will deal with that later. Let me put it somewhere safe on the floor, because if it's on the floor I can't knock it onto the floor, can I? And all these little bits, and wipe it on your jogging pants. So it does go everywhere, but isn't that fun, isn't it, gorgeous? I'm going to stand up and show you really closely. Like that focus, that's really lovely. It has such a much softer feel and look than embossing powder, and obviously then glitter would be too garish, I think, for this project. There is a time and a place for glitter, and this ain't it. So now I'm ready to pretty much assemble the card. I've got my die cut leaf piece, I've got my pretty butterfly. All I need is to adhere this and stamp a sentiment, and we're good to go. So let's do it. I'm going to choose to use liquid glue for the back of this layer, and the reason for that is because it's embossed. If I ran a tape glue across it, so something like Stamp and Seal, because I have to put pressure on that, I stand the risk of flattening the embossed layer. I really do need some more glue on my desk. So I always use multi-purpose liquid glue for embossed layers. Embossed using an embossing folder. And there we are. That's the right way up. On this embossing folder you do have that Timeworn Type, so it does look, there are a few words that just stand out, and I can read the word harvest there and the word never there, so I can tell that that's the right way up. I really don't think anybody else receiving it would even pick that out, particularly as I'm now going to pop the leaves across the top. And to adhere the leaves, I could have used our sticky sheet, which would have given me a fully adhesive backing to the entire piece. However, I like that little tiny bit of movement that you get if you don't adhere the whole piece down. So again, I'm going to use my liquid glue, and I'm going to stick down the very top. If I can get some glue out, yes. Never give up on your Tombow glue. Just when you think it's really gone, give it another squeeze and it'll probably go a bit longer. So I'm just finding those flatter areas and popping a little dot of glue just along that branch. There we are. And that can go on. And it will need just a bit of persuading because we're sticking it to a textured background because it's been embossed. So just give it a little bit of pressure and then you know it's actually stuck down. But look, already some of those leaves look like they're popping up, and I think that that just gives it a bit more dimension. And I can pop my butterfly on, and I used, I'm just looking at that butterfly, that's definitely darker. I reckon I stamped off and stamped on my original with the rich Razzleberry. Not that it matters at all. I'm going to use a mini dimensional for the back of the butterfly, and I know that one just fits right in the middle of the body. And again, popping that up just on one dimensional would just give it a bit of dimension. Haha, who'd have thought it? A bit more movement and a bit more depth to the card. Now we just need a sentiment, and I'm going to use Evening Evergreen. I could use Rich Razzleberry actually, because that's a nice dark colour, and I'm just going to stamp the word hello. I always feel the need to go hello. Oh, such fun. Hello. And I'm going to simply cut that with my scissors. I'm not going to use a punch, or I'm going to use big scissors. So a nice straight line. Let's get rid of some of that scrap. I'm not going to use a punch or a die for this. It's a small enough sentiment to just use scissors, and I'm going to keep it square. I might just remove a little bit of that end. Just straighten it up. And I'm going to leave my sentiment flat because I want the butterfly to do all the talking. I don't want my sentiment to be popped up, and I also don't need any ribbon or twine on this project. I'm quite happy finishing it off with some sequins. So I'm going to just pop some, I don't need Stampin' Seal Plus. So we have two tape runner glues, Stampin' Seal and Stampin' Seal Plus. The Plus is used, you can use it on anything, but I like to use that with construction projects, so box making, etc. If anybody watched Lorna's Fab Live video last night, Lorna Carter's Creations, she does a wonderful live on a Monday night. She made a fab gift box for 4 tea light candles, a really super little gift, and Lorna was using Stampin' Seal Plus for that project. I'm looking at that sideways now because I'm away from the camera. I don't think that's straight. That looks straight. Now, here we go. I'm going to get these out. I've only got large gold sequins left, and I like to have a mixture of large and small. So we've got, let me lay these out, this sort of iridescent white, this colour, I'm not even sure what colour that is, and then we've got this colour. So if I just lay them there, and I'm going to say, let's call this green, let's call this I'm going to call it Sweet Sorbet, so green, pink or white, and I'm going to let you choose the actual colour of the sequins. Oh, Alison, I didn't know you were watching. Yes, I remember you do wear your glue. Ain't no one got time for that though. I mean, I'd like to do some more crafting. I just shake it until it doesn't come out. White for Alison. First one, green. Let's see. There's 5 of you watching. See if we get one that comes up more than. It's going to be pink next, isn't it? The next person's going to say pink. Come on, give us a vote. I'm guessing that the others are watching on a device where they can't actually comment. So, I'm going to go with first in, gets it. So Alison, white. I'm going to go with iridescent white, and I'm just going to pop 3 sequins on my card. Let's go, a big one and 2 littlies. Oop, that was fun because I wanted that one there and one down there. There we go. So we've got same but different. Let me hold them up. And you can see that lovely shine and sparkle on those white ones. There we go. Oh, so there you go. We got a pink and a green when my back was turned. And that's how I made my swap for my team swap group. It was fun to take part, and you don't have to be a member of my team to do a swap. So next time we organise a swap, probably in the new year when everybody's got a bit more time, maybe we should open it up on the Crafty Beehive, on our public group where anyone can join in, and we could widen the rules a little bit just for a fun swap, and we'll, you know, just open it up so it doesn't have to necessarily be all Stampin' Up product. So that's something I'll write in my planner for the new year. We'll do a fun swap, perhaps, for anyone to take part in. And throughout the year I'm going to run more team swaps, because not all members of my team are actually demonstrating or business demonstrators. They're actually team members who benefit their hobby through being a member of Stampin' Up. They receive discount on product, early release product, early access to catalogues and early access to sales, etc. But when you're not running a business, maybe you're using your Stampin' Up demonstratorship for your hobby, you might be making items for craft fairs, etc. It's still nice to receive swap cards from team members. Firstly, it's fun to join in, and secondly, it's nice to receive other cards because it gives you ideas, gives you lots of lovely ideas of how else to use product, stamp sets, etc. And there were a couple of these swaps. Where did I plonk them down? Oh, I've popped them over here safely. A couple of the swaps that I received, I actually didn't have. I haven't got this stamp set. And I haven't got this stamp set, and I haven't got the sentiments for the Christmas one. So they gave me ideas about stamp sets that I haven't got that I might like to have. I haven't made a monochrome card, and I really love the composition of this one. I absolutely adored the colours in this one and the use of vellum. And I also bought these flower adhesive back flowers, and I haven't used them yet. And I have got this stamp set and this punch, so that's something that I'm going to be trying. And this one, I have got the whole suite for the Abigail Rose suite, but I actually haven't used this die, and I hadn't thought about using it as a collection like that on top. So I was really pleased to receive all of my swaps, because they give me ideas of how to use different products. So swapping is fun, and it's not just for big Stampin' Up events, or indeed if you are a Stampin' Up demonstrator. So watch out in the new year. Okay, so now Sheena, you've just popped a comment on there, but something's covering it up. Let me just see. There we go. Which butterfly die did I use? So I used the Brilliant Wings. I'm just going to bring that back in. The Brilliant Wings die set, which is in the annual catalogue, and it has all these fabulous dies. And I'll just bring the one back in. Ooh, stuck to my magnetic dish. That's the one I used from the Brilliant Wings set, and I did show the whole set. So it also has this big die that cuts out in one go all of the butterflies on this one stamp, and it actually cuts them out. Oops, pop them that way. It cuts them all out singly, so you end up with 2, 4, 6 single butterflies, but it does, you can stamp them all in one go and cut them all in one go, so it's fantastic for that application. And we get these 2 titchy ones and these background dies. So it's a mega, what I would call a mega set, die set, and that's in the annual catalogue. Thank you for asking. And that's all from me. So thank you for watching. Once again, I'm not turning the camera around. I explained at the top of the show. Oh, bless you, Lisa. You're poorly. Get well soon. I've not been too well either. I've got this stinky ear thing that's going on. I'm deaf in one ear, and I've got antibiotics, but I'm not too down about it. I don't feel poorly, so that's one blessing. But get well soon, darling. Hope you're soon feeling better. And yeah, you're welcome about the tips. That's fine. That's good. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, thank you for joining me. And I'm just trying to think ahead to next week. I hope to fit in. Oh no, next week is class week, so I won't be doing a live because I'll be busy prepping for class. So on the week that I have class, which is the first week of the month, the first Wednesday of the month, I have an in-person class in my local village. And oh gosh, something funny, I will make you laugh. I had an email from the village hall, the people who I contact for renting the village hall, and the email said problem with the heating, and my heart sank. Well, no, don't have a problem with the heating. Then I opened the email and it said, unfortunately, we have a problem with the heating. The heating is stuck on, so it's rather warm in the hall. And I thought, where's my key? I'm going. Can I take my telly with me? Oh, so I'm looking forward to class next Wednesday. Hopefully it'll be nice and toasty in there still. That did make me chuckle. So yeah, when it's in-person class week, I don't do a live on Facebook because there's only so many hours in the day and I have to do quite a bit of prep work for the class on the Tuesday. So I'll hope to be back the week after. Trying to think what the week after is. I'll look at my planner and bring you some more, even if it's just a really quick live. But thanks for watching just now, and I will see you all very soon. Take care. Keep crafting. Bye.